Hi, good evening, and welcome to Rangers Radio. Joining myself Southside on the show this evening is a gentleman who knows how to make a crocodile rock, and my mate Jaffa, and the legend who is a bridge man. Good evening, guys.
Evening, Southside. Evening, Bridge. How you doing, pal?
Yeah, just say a big good evening to yourself, Southside, and the techie boys in the background. Fantastic. Inviting Jaffa, you, what can I say? Just brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to it. But can I just say to all the Rangers fans all over the world that are listening in here, Wednesday night was Wednesday night. Leave it. We're only hurting ourselves, that's all. Well beaten, just leave it at that. Look forward to Sunday. That's what I'm doing. Everybody keep it going here. Everybody do it that way. Good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio.
Better take the lead for Bridge then, Jaffa, and just no bother asking you what you thought about Wednesday.
I thought we played brilliant.
I thought we'd done all right for 10 minutes.
Let's I listened in to the guys last night. Obviously, after the game, Southside and what the rest is just didn't see that coming. Didn't think it was a 5-1 game, to be honest with you, but it happened. They did score the 5 goals, but just so many bits and pieces of the game. The defending, just not getting up the park, not getting close enough to men, no ball retention was just the small margins, as they call it, but there was too many of them. And yet again, when you play games of that magnitude, you need 9, 10 of your players to have absolutely brilliant games. And the reality is we probably had 7 or 8 guys that were hitting 4 out of 10s and 5 out of 10s. So it was just one of the nights. A lot went wrong, and we've got to move on from it. It's happened now. We've got to lick our wins and pick ourselves back up for Sunday, because obviously we've got a massive game in the league on Sunday.
Aye, I'll come to Bridge. I'm going to give you my thought, Jaffa, and then I'll come to Bridge. They talked about the game the week before, right? And people said that we showed a desire and an application. Now that's what I never seen on the Wednesday night. I think no player could come off the park apart from Jack Butland and say that he left Everton on the park. I thought there is a golf in class with them and us. I see it. I seen it in the first game, but you don't go down and get beat 5-1. And I think that Bridge is a bit where we lost. I think they scored 2 decent goals, if I'm honest, and I think there was 3 where you should easily have been prevented. But they were a better team. But I just didn't see the desire, the application, and leave everything on the park on Wednesday night for that Rangers team that started the game.
Yeah, can I just say, and I mean this in all sincerity, I don't mean to offend anyone, but we were completely outclassed. And I thought that the goalkeeper had a tremendous game for us, and he made some cracking blocks and saves, and it could easily have another 3 goals on there, but the goalkeeper, if he hadn't got the ones. But I have to say, congratulations to Tav. Another fantastic goal by him. I just can't believe that guy. Defensively, we were very poor, truth be told, and we were very poor compared to what we were against them the previous week. I thought the previous week we were a lot tougher and stiffer in defence, and we just didn't have it. And of course, the midfield were the midfield. They thought they were in and out. Not good enough, just not good enough on the night, and that's all there is to it.
No, there was a golf. Jaffa, look, the year before, I think the team tactically were set out better. Now, I'd have added 3 players that Bakayoko, and I'm not sure if he played against us last year, but they've added 3 players. The nucleus, they had about good 7 of their squad still there. Same as we had a nucleus of our squad still there, although 1 or 2 didn't play. But I don't think, I think tactically the way we played against them last year, and we rode a luck at times in the away game. But I think in the Ibrox we had more of the ball and more of a go. I just think the way that we turned up and the way we tried to play the game, I think that was always going to be the case. I'd spoke about it before. last week, and I says, we can't sit in and let them come on to us. And that's exactly what we did. And I just think we've got players that he signed, he looked in the eye and trusted. And I think it's time that they had to get a performance out of their players. They need to be comfortable in holding the ball, need to be able to move the ball. And we created 2 good chances to release Matondo at the time, and twice Borna tried to play the ball down the line, and Raskin had acres of space to play him in early in the first half, because that was always going to be the tactic, and failed again to make a simple pass into a bit of space for the wee man to run onto.
Yeah, to take your first point, Southside, I agree. We probably tactically were set up better the game 12 months ago under Gio, both home and away, because we I think he admitted afterwards he set out to contain them, and we, you know, that's exactly what Gio did, with probably arguably a more inexperienced team, because if you remember, James Sands was playing in that game Southside in Eindhoven at the back, and obviously. Tom Lawrence had a great game that night, but I mean, you know, with the players that we've signed, as Michael Beale says, he's looked at them in the eye. You know, the guys that you're looking to, you know, to turn up on the night, Raskin, Cifuentes, they were way off the pace. I mean, even for the game 8 days prior to Ibrox on the Tuesday night, they were mile off the pace, and they've got themselves into a great opportunity. And then wee moments in the game that I saw through my eyes, their weakest part of their game was the boy Shilton that they brought in to cover for Ramalho, the guy that went out injured. He's like a second, third choice centre half. We didn't test him once. We never got near him. We absolutely never got near him, and we knew all that beforehand. We knew they were going to bring that guy in. And again, I think we just gave them too much space, and guys with that ability, you know, like Sangari and Veerman in the middle of the park, and the big boy that scored the first goal, Saberi, he just ran the show. But with respect, that was self-inflicted, because we gave them the space to run the show, so we made them look good because we get nowhere near them. And then look, De Jong, I don't think he lost a header in the 6-yard box the whole night. I don't recall him losing a header in the 6-yard box. And incidentally, Luke De Jong's not taller than Connor Golson. Connor Golson's taller than him. So I know it's a bit deceiving. Everybody thinks Luke De Jong's really dead tall, and he's great, and he has a great header of the ball. But my word, we were miles off him at every point in the match. I mean, he should have scored the header just before they got their goal in the early part of the game. And again, it was just down to bad defending. Nobody picked them up. And I go back to, you know, I've been chatting to a couple of other pals before coming on the show earlier today. And you see, when you played football Southside, even at under 10s and under 12s and moving up to under 16s and under 18s, see, when you conceded a corner, the first thing you done was your tallest guy in your team picked up their tallest guy in the middle of the box. That's just what you done. The wee guys go in the front post to try and protect it. A bit like what Steve Davis used to do, automatically go to the front post or the back post. We were doing nothing like that. And it wasn't as if it happened once or twice. It happened, the regularity throughout the 90 minutes was unbelievable. Every time we conceded a corner. I found some of that really disturbing, that's not getting managed for the side of the park or coached and getting told to mark up and pick up your man. Basic stuff. I didn't see any of that. And that I have to say, that concerns me. That really, really worries me.
Bridge, it was basic. Obviously, Luke Dion was the guy who's good in the air. He's physical. We went zonal by the looks of it. But we should have had one of our centre-backs on him, regardless of where he went on the park inside that box. He's intelligent. He skipped in between the two of them, and they picked him out because that's what they were looking to do. But for me, it's down to basic players on the park not doing their job, or is it down to the coaching staff who's telling them to sit and mark space? And it's a reoccurring thing for us at the start. We've noticed we've leaked goals like that. We've had it constantly because we've not got the dominant centre back that wins everything in the air. But surely the coaching staff have got to look at what they're telling the players or instructing them what to do on the park.
Can I just say, also, the two centre-halves can think for themselves. The whole defence can think for themselves. There was maybe 5 or 6 Rangers players in a line when De Jong scored that goal. 5 or 6 in a line. And the ball came over and it never came anywhere near 4 of these players at the back, including Golson and what's his name? Oh, God, I've forgotten his name now. But you know, the other centre-half.
Sure.
Aye. They never were nowhere near him. And he got the goal, and that's all there is to it. And we are very poor. We could have made our mind up. I mean, Golson had been chasing him about the box for a few minutes earlier on. And I don't understand why he didn't chase him in about the box there. But what can we say? Our decision-making in defence was very poor. That's all we can say. Very poor. And I'm sure that the lads in the dressing room, okay, once they get over it, they can look back and say what they did and what they didn't do. And there's probably more of what we didn't do than there is what we've done. Really and truly, it's a very disappointing result for us and a seriously disappointing display, shocking display for me in some areas.
Aye, well, I think we can park that. I think we've probably had the bones ripped out it anyway. I think if we can all put our hands up, I think we can say that that PSV were a better team or played better football over the 2 legs against us, and we just didn't show up. I think over the 2 legs to be anywhere near good enough to get into the Champions League. And supposing you reflect on it, I think they sold 2 players a day for a combined total of about £60 million that played against us on Wednesday night. So obviously that's a golfing class when they're selling players to what we would normally sell a player for.
Yeah, but 100%.
At the end of the day, we weren't good enough, but obviously the aggregate score's the one that hurts a lot is for the way that we lost the goals and conceded them. But anyway, if you 2 guys would like to go on mute, we'll get to hear what Michael Beale had to say in his press conference, a wee bit of it. All right, guys?
Quite a lot of new signings could make their Old Firm debut this weekend. How do you prepare them for a game like that?
Well, it's the one that they signed to play in. If you're signing for either of the clubs in Glasgow, then this is a game that you know it's the first and foremost in your mind. And I've got no issues with any of the players going into the game or being ready for it.
Borna Barisic okay?
Borna's fine. Yeah, we had a scan and he should train tomorrow and should be available for selection. The only one is whether Kieran makes it or not because of his slight knock with his knee, but that'll be touch and go.
Kemar Ruth comes back into the squad.
Kemar and Tom will come back in the squad. Yeah, they're fine and trained very well this morning. They're both in a fantastic place, I feel.
Gives you added options, obviously, for the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think Kemar coming back last week was a bit of a shock for everybody outside to see him in the starting lineup, and he rewarded us with a goal that probably only really Kemar in our squad scores. We know what he brings to our team as a leader, but also as a focal point to the team. So if Kemar's fit and healthy moving forward, then that's really good news for Rangers.
How are the squad after the game midweek?
Well, listen, we're bitterly disappointed. We're disappointed not only for ourselves, but for our fans as well and the football club in general. You know, you want really to go and play and challenge yourself at the biggest level. And I think in the home leg of the 2 games, we did well in terms of certain aspects of the game and could have had a better result going over to Eindhoven. And big moments in the 2 legs, we didn't execute well, we didn't defend well, and we're bitterly disappointed with that. I think that they're a very, very good team, but the scoreline is regrettable. The distance in the scoreline, certainly when you get into over 60 minutes of the game and you get to 2-1, and in both legs we conceded. Certainly at 2-1 at home we conceded within 3 minutes, and then at 2-1 away we conceded within a minute, and we know that's not good enough. We really wanted to go and compete at that level. It's not to be. I think domestically, what could we expect of ourselves going up to the international break? It would be to obviously still be in the League Cup, and we have a home draw with Livingston, and it will to be top of the league. So we have a real aim this weekend that we can still reach in terms of hopefully going into the international break at top of the league. And then I think then that that gives us a chance to have a reflection. A lot's changed in the football club in terms of the squad since June to now. And if we can go into international break in a good place, then I think we set up the rest of the season.
You mentioned your disappointment from Wednesday. Does Sunday provide the perfect opportunity to bounce back?
Well, of course it does, because if we go into the international break on the back of a win this weekend, I think we're in a really good place. We will be able to assess this first period in terms of integrating the new players and the team up to September. We will always want to improve in the way that we play. But as I say, the last 2 league games, we've had 2 clean sheets, scored 6 goals, 6 different goal scorers. We've had the most shots in the league. So we're moving in the right direction. I must pick the bones out of Wednesday night at the right time. It would be a miss of me to do that in between Wednesday and this huge game on Sunday. It's important that we dust ourselves down and we show a big response as a team and as a club, and it's a great opportunity. The eyes of everybody will be on us for sure. And
Jack mentioned earlier that one of your goals is to win the league, obviously. How imperative is it to win these home games with all your fans inside Ibrox?
I think, listen, our home form and our away form is going to be paramount. I think both teams have made quite a few changes. Us more, is fair to say, more key players, if you like, turning over. And it's important this new group make their own history and their own legacy. The old firm games and the games against Celtic are going to be vitally important over the season. If you look at the points total that both teams had, and certainly again since I came back into the club in November, we've gone neck to neck all the way through. We've fallen second best. This year, the aim is to not fall second best, and these games are vitally important to that. It is only the 4th league game of the season. There's 34 to go afterwards, and I think there's going to be lots of twists and turns. Certainly, as we get around European competition, and we're coming off of European games into big games at the weekend. But the importance of these games to this squad, to the fans, and to the league, I think going into the September international break, it will set a narrative moving forward for sure.
And last one from me: how important is it to manage the emotions in these games, especially for new players who haven't played in a match like this before?
Yeah, it's important. It's important you play the 11 players you're playing against, and not the occasion. It's an old cliche or old word in that, but it's very much true. Both teams are showing signs of getting it together after a bit of change. And listen, one team will come out of the weekend in a better place than the other. If there's a winner, that's for sure. And so our aims and our focus is on that. And it's important that we put in a strong performance for our fans.
I mentioned there, people look forward players have got on the score sheet this season. I think you've used 7 different combinations across your front three. It was Livingston, Servette, the only time you've used consecutive pairings. Is that about give everyone a chance? Would you like to play a more settled front three to build relationships? Do you see it changing as the season goes on?
I think naturally things will settle down. With the League Cup being so early in the season, and it was a natural moment to give people a chance to play. So we made a lot of change in that one. Kamal being fit, probably a little bit ahead of schedule, and his form in training and his leadership qualities, I wanted him to play last week. So there's been changes just for different reasons. Over the time, you'll see a much more settled team for sure. And it's important that people make the shirt their own. You're right in the positive point is that all the new players have scored and have contributed. They can all do more. And I think over the season, they will show more. I think defensively as a team, certainly.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show. It's your platform. Let's hear from
you. Well, Jaffa, make the shirt your own. I think the only person now that you can say has made the shirt their own is probably our goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Southside, he certainly looked. He's looked everything that I thought Jack Butland was, and he's just fulfilled that. And there's a number of the new signings are still to do that. Danilo, Dessers, Lamos. As much as they've had bit parts, but they've not really grabbed. They've not grabbed the shirt, if you want to use that expression. They've not set the header alight. We've had bits and bobs off them. But so there's a lot more to come from them. I sincerely hope. I do like the look of Dessers. I'm not going to lie. I like his robustness. He's mobile, and I like his patter. It is just patter. It's just words. that he'll die on the pitch, you know, for the cause on Sunday. I want to hear that. I like players that think that way, because it's that important to us as fans. And the fans all travelled on Wednesday night over to Eindhoven, and their thousands to go and watch Rangers and spend hundreds and thousands of pounds to get performances like that. That's not acceptable. It's not good enough. It's not. That's not what we operate as a football club. So they can go and redeem themselves on Sunday Southside. They can go and get some redemption by going and battering them, and putting the performance of their life in, because I think that's the only thing that's really going to probably allay some of the concerns of a lot of the fans. Good to hear some of the players that are coming back incidentally as well, which I'm sure you'll go on to talk about.
Well, I was just going to mention that it's always good maybe when a player comes out and says he does this and they'll do that for the club and that. But see, to be honest, we judge them when we watch them as supporters at the side of the park, and you can tell if you think they've left everything on the park for you. You know, it's not a hard thing that we asked today, Bridge, that when you come and sign for Glasgow Rangers, the least we expect is to go out there and try your best and show a heart and desire, an application. That's what we look for our players first and foremost. Take it, Bridges, having an extra chocolate biscuit. Jaffa.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, he was there.
Right, I wasn't there with the chocolate biscuit, but I was listening away to you. But no, you're right. Look, Wednesday night was Wednesday night, in my opinion, and none of our players covered themselves in glory, with the exception of Tav getting his goal and Matondo having a few trips up the park. I know we tried. Don't get me wrong. The team tried. And the first 10 minutes were looking not too bad. But seriously, overall, over the 90 minutes, there was only one team on the park. There was only one team that could stand up and say, we are better than the opposition. And that's what it was. It was them. And there's nothing we could do about it. It doesn't matter how many good players we put on. They were on fire. That team were on fire and they were up for everything. And by the way, they had, 3 or 4 players that never played the previous week on the park, and my goodness, they didn't all just do everything. They dominated us from back to front, bullied us off the park, off the ball, no problem. We Rangers, we never want to get beat 5-1. It's just not a thing. But my God, seriously, I'm glad it was only 5-1.
All right. I'll be finished that 10 minutes ago. We were talking about the game on Sunday, but it's good to know.
Apologies, pal. I never knew that.
No, it's all right.
Forward to the game. Could you just tell me you're looking forward to the game?
Sunday, well, obviously, Michael Beale's alluded that Borna looks as if he'll probably make the game. And obviously, Kemar Roof's back in contention. Mm-hmm. And he also mentioned Tom Lawrence, Bridge.
Well, these are the guys that come back from injury. And I don't know if Borna was injured or not. Certainly he went off with a knock, but I don't know whether it's a big bad knock or it's one of these ones that he just can shrug it off over a few days. We're going to have the whole defence to be the same as it was the other night. That's the truth. So our midfield's got to be there on the game, and I hope Kemar Roof, I hope he plays. Because he scored goals, and he scores against them, you know, and he fights against them, and that's what we want. Up front, we want to do that. So apologies if we're getting a little mixed up there.
No, Bridge. I think Borna, Jaffa, like he says, I think we'd prefer Borna to be at left back. I think Borna's actually played pretty well since the start of the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Southside. I think he has. He's probably been one of the more consistent players, Borna, to be fair. He's been pinging some lovely balls into the box. We've scored a number of goals from directly from that. So it was good to hear if it, it was just a slight knock and they had a scan on it. According to Michael Beale, and everything looks okay. So apparently he's going to be training tomorrow. So if that's the case, then I would fully expect Borna to be in the starting 11. And I'm quite content with that because, the back 5 should be as it were on Wednesday night with Tav and Golson and Suter in there. That's our best back 5 at this moment in time and the most settled. So that's right that they should all start. So I'm quite pleased with that, to hear that, to be honest with you, there wasn't anything long term, because initially he was holding his hammy, and I thought, woof, that could be anything. That could be 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 14 weeks. So I'm glad to hear it was just more of a strain that he's had, obviously, or just a knock he's taken. So good to hear that.
Aye, it is positive news. Thought he might have been out for a wee bit of time, Bridge, but Kemar Roofe, the enigma is Kemar Roofe. When fit, plays, he usually scores, Bridge. That's the thing about him. He's probably our most natural striker that we've seen at the moment, since the other two haven't hit the net with regularity yet. But in fairness, apart from Danilo, maybe the chance in Servette and that, we've not actually supplied our strikers to go and actually finish chances off, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if we're going to play Kemar Roofe, we need to play low ball as well, not the big high lump. I know he can go for it and he can challenge quite well, but we really need to be able to play to Roofe. Either the sort of crosses in from free kicks and corners, not a problem, because he's going to be there. But when we've got to go through and put low balls into him as well. He's not the tallest and he's not the most robust. So, I think Celtic have signed a really good player now, a big tall fella, once again. So they're going to have a huge, strong defence, and they'll not be letting us off with anything. They'll be bringing their game to us for sure. And Roofe, yes, if he plays, he nearly always threatens and sometimes gets a goal. And that's what we want. We want him to get goals.
Right, well, if it's all right with you two guys, what I think we'll do is we'll get the phone lines opened and we'll get some of the fans on and see what they've got to say. You can talk about Wednesday if you want, but we'll try to move on to Sunday, and also we've got the Europa League draw. So if you guys don't mind, I think we'll get the phone lines opened, all right? So let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Jaffa, on Rabbi Matondo, he's came in.
Hello.
Oh, hold on, we're joined by a call. I think it's Stuart. All right, Stuart.
I'm good, guys. How you doing?
Hello, Stuart.
Not too bad, mate.
We're still putting there the bones yet. But I just wanted to make a couple of points about it. And I'm not going to go on about Wednesday. It's done, as Bridge says, it's done, move on and all the rest of it. But what my feeling is, Scottish football in general, right? We play a particular way every week. We're kind of up against a block every week. So it doesn't give us a chance to sort of expand your play, if you like. If we were playing teams a higher calibre, if you like, if there were more competition, in better words, like if we were playing teams like Servette or Eindhoven every week and you were able to have this expansive play, we would come on leaps and bounds, I'm pretty sure of it. But because we play a particular style every week, because we've got to, because that's the way teams play against us, Kilmarnock, Livingston, Ross County to a point. But when they come to Ibrox, it's 2 banks of 5 actually, So we're not allowed to play a particular game that maybe we would want to play, or we could play or practice. It's okay doing this in training, the wee flicks like what Eindhoven were doing, opening up the space, playing it down the wing, cutting inside, because their league's more competitive. But I think that's one of the biggest problems that we've got. Okay, we play against Celtic at the weekend and it's a bit more expansive. It takes a wee bit of time to maybe get into the rhythm. I don't know what you think about that, guys. I think that's one of the biggest problems that we've got. I really do. I really think it is.
No, I agree with you, Stuart, 100%. I'll go to Jaffa and then Bridge will come in. I do believe it is the league that we play in, and the negativity throughout the league. And it hampers you because of what you're saying. You get a load of the ball, but in Europe you don't, Jaffa. And as I've said on here before, when you give the ball away in Europe, it's either you pick it out your net or it's a by kick.
See, the difference, Stuart, that we experience in Scotland compared to, for example, because we've just played PSV. So let's look at Holland. And I happen to watch a lot of the Eredivisie league, and I have done throughout my whole life. I've always been quite taken by it because the football in general. So, for example, if PSV are playing Vitesse Arnhem, who are like traditionally a bottom 6 team, Vitesse wouldn't go out and play the way Ross County, or for example, what Livingston played us just recently at Ibrox for the best part of about 75 minutes. But to be fair, and what if you're David Martindale, it's because of money, Stuart, because these clubs are not getting any money to buy any players. So they've got he's in a job. David Martindale's just a regular guy. He's on a regular job. He probably gets paid. He probably gets paid quite well, but nothing compared to, for example, the big two in Glasgow or even Aberdeen or Hearts for that matter. But he's got to work. He's got to work with the best tools that the guy is put in front of him. But the minute Livingston opened up against us, we annihilated them. The minute he changed his tactics, and I'm not don't misconstrue that. I'm not defending Davy Martindale or I'm just giving it as an example. But if Vitesse Arnhem wouldn't play like that, they would go out and if they got beat 4-1, fine. If they got beat 7-1, fine. But then again, they might pull off a 1-1 draw, or they might even on a good day, but they might beat PSV at the Eindhoven Stadium. But what they will do is they'll go out and play football. And see, having just watched PSV in the last 8 or 9 days, both home and away, and I was at the game at Ibrox. I wasn't at the away tie, but I was at the game at Ibrox. Do you want to know the thing that I took away from it, watching them? Do you want to know what they do that we can't do? Control a ball.
Aye, I know.
And I'm not saying that we're rubbish at it, but they were pinging balls like 40 yards, Stuart, and they were killing them. The ball was stone dead. It was one touch and it was into play. We, with respect to quite a lot of our players, it was taking 2 and 3 touches. And I would like, if we're coaching, I would like just to get back to basics. Just hit the ping balls to the players back and forward for hours on end until they get the natural ability to be able to kill the ball. And, a lot of the players in our team can do that. I'm just, conditions and things play parts. I'm not, again, contradicting myself here. But the thing that I noticed from PSV was they were killing the ball. And they were passing, moving. No,
I agree.
That's just basic football. That's what you're taught when you're under 8s, or it's what I was taught, was pass and move. And the other night there in Eindhoven, we didn't do that, and that's what Southside was saying at the start. We just didn't. We didn't play. We didn't put the energy into the game, and that's the thing that's disappointing most, because that's the thing that's basic, isn't it? In every footballer.
Aye. Stuart, hold on. I'll come to Bridge, right, then we'll come back to you, right?
That's all right. No bother.
Bridge, I think I've watched a couple of the passing drills that they show you on YouTube for the training ground, right? And it looks pretty neat and tidy. But we're lacking that. We have not seen much of that. That's the thing that I thought. I was hoping that we'd play a bit similar to like PSV played, a quick one-touch pass move game with the sort of players that were brought in that he said would be pacey. And you'd see a difference, you'd bring energy to the team. And I think that's something that we're lacking. And no judging it against PSV, forget that. Just looking at our league performances, Bridge.
Yeah, I think the first 10 minutes we saw some half-decent passing. The previous week we saw for our team, some quite good passing. But that team against their team were like the masters of the passing, And I'm afraid some of our guys just weren't anywhere near as good as them, but when we put it on, we look good, and I'm pleased the Rangers can do the passing game. But we don't want to overstep the mark with it. We're trying to beat that team in a short game like that. We've got to come up with some different plan. But Rangers are quite good at it, and yes, magic to hear you saying that you were watching it, and yes, sometimes it's good. And before the game, every time at Ibrox, I go there and I watch them, and they do the same routines with a short passing, and they're really good at it, So you wonder what happens when they're in, apart from pressure and so on and so forth. You wonder what happens to the team when the passes aren't coming off. There's a 15-yard pass and it just doesn't get there, or if the other guys see they look for a throw in or something. So some of the stuff that we do. But I think. Well done. Sorry.
No, you're all right, Bridge. Sorry, Stuart. I don't think it was a surprise at what type of football they were going to play against us. What I'm surprised at, and I know they've come in. I know he's using it. They're at different fitness levels and stuff, right? But we bought 9 players, and we are going into this massive game that was there. And even on Sunday, if you're talking about Sunday's game, would you think Cifuentes will start? Do you think Danilo will start? Do you think,
right?
No, and they're players, Lammers maybe, they're players that we brought in to make our team better and to play in these type of games. And our manager's not got them up and ready, or there's not got the system worked out yet that they should be playing this fluent football. That's what worries me slightly, Stuart.
Well, what I was kind of concerned about, the first 10 minutes, we kind of had no rain a bit, and then they just seemed to become disillusioned, bewildered, as if they think, it's like a boxing match, they're slugging it out with each other, and you're thinking, I'm not making a dent on this guy, and then they suddenly lose heart a bit. That's what I felt. They just lost a bit of heart. They lost a couple of yards. I mean, if you think back to, I've watched a lot of games. Bayern Munich against Rangers all the years ago. You had Beckenbauer was the prince of Germany spraying the ball about, and Kollenstein virtually marked him out of the game. So they cut the sort of supply off, and to a lesser extent, when we played Celtic the last time, McGregor got the ball and he swivels about and nobody's near him, but we put somebody on him, and that's what broke one of the goals. I can't remember who scored it. Fashion, I think, scored that. But we need to, what they should have done was, I came with all armchair bloody managers, but I'm just saying that when you're up against something like that, you think, how do we nullify this lot? Somebody should have been on De Jong all the time, and the big sort of guy that was pulling the strings in that field. Make it a nine-man game, if you like. Take the keepers out, an 8-man game. They would have been bewildered with that. We would have played to a particular strength. And what annoyed me as well, when they were making the changes, they were all, you mind Ted Rogers when he used to do 3-2-1 with his fingers, they were all like that, as if they think, nobody really knew what system they were going into, because they were getting different. I was watching them and thinking, they didn't seem to be passing the messages on. It should be a simple sort of click of a finger saying, right, this is the way we're playing to start with. We've got to change it by a code, some kind of thing. Right, we're changing it now so everybody knows what they're doing. I felt in these sort of particular times, after we scored the goal, they were kind of switched off a bit. And we've done that 2 or 3 times because they seem to change something a wee bit. I heard what you were saying, all the Rangers players standing in a line. And I can't mind who said it. He said, why were we defending that deep? Why did we not defend on the 18-yard line when the boy was going to swing the ball in and step forward, let them be our side? We played right into their hands. So we need to get better at that. And again, it comes back to the competition issue for Saturday. I think we'll win on Saturday. I really do.
Sunday.
This particular game. But I think Bill's trying to tinker too much, I think, rather than just stay with the basics. That's what I feel.
Aye, Jaffa, he's only played the front 3 twice. And I know he alluded to it in his thing because we played the cup tie and you'd expect him to change some of the players. But you'd think he would have had a settled 9, 10 easy that he'd go with. Even though it's only been the 3 league games, coming up for 4 league games, whatever. I just think the formation, he's got to get a sort of style in the formation. I think we can see what he's trying to do. At times we've seen nice wee bits, intricate play, but we don't seem to see sustained periods of it. Over even our first half, you'll see flashes.
I know, and that bit that Stuart was talking to there on Wednesday night when he was pointing, I think he was saying go to Lundstrom, you go into a 3. When we're on the attack, he was telling him to go into a 3, and then when we were in defence, he was telling them to go back to a 4-1-4-1 because Lundstrom turned away and started doing the great expression, the Ted Rogers, but he was doing.
I know, it was annoying me.
And that was what I interpreted. I thought he was telling him to go into a 3 when so it allowed. It would have been Barisic had just come off at that point, I think, when that happened. So it would have been Sterling and Tavernier to push up. Going back to your point, Southside, I still can't see the reason I think I still can't see it is because I don't think he's settled on his own formation yet, and I think that's partly what's probably causing some of the problems because a lot of the players are still unsure of what it is they're actually trying to do. I mean, if you looked at some of the stats that come up from Wednesday night's game, it had us down as a 4-4-1-1 with Cantwell sitting behind Dessers. I mean, why not just, if we're going to play 4-4-2, just play 4-4-2? I personally think he should have had at minimum 4 people in the middle of the park on Wednesday night, or at least 5. and just went a 4-5-1. Because for me, a 4-5-1 when you're playing away can very quickly turn into a 4-3-3. It just can. And in defence, you're much more secure. But anyway, Wednesday night's gone, as we say. It's what we do on Sunday. We won't play like that on Sunday. I personally, Southside, would like to see him playing a 4-4-2 on Sunday with Dessers and Roof up front. That would be my shout. Hearing that Roof's fit, and I think the words he said, that he's in him and Tom Lawrenson in a really good place. So I take from that, he means they're really fit. So if Roof's had another week of training under his belt from his game at Ross County the other week there, I would start Roof and I would start Dessers with him, and I would go the big guy, wee guy formation, if you want to put it like that, because Roof can dig a goal out. He can see a goal. He's our most natural finisher. That goal last weekend he scored, just for me, epitomised Kemar Roof. It was an absolute brilliant goal. He should never have scored that goal. The guy was wrestling at him in the ground, and he still got his foot round the back end of the guy and toe poked it into the net. Brilliant goal. Great striker's goal. And that's what I would like to see Danilo and Dessers doing. I know they're different players, but they still need to get the ball in the net. And ultimately, as a striker, that's your job. By hook or by crook, you get the ball in the net, whether you've got to scratch and fight for it. So that would be my shout for the two up front on Sunday. And I think with them bringing in this new guy who, he's just meeting his teammates for the first time, I think that augurs well for playing that kind of system with two up front, because they should be able to cause a lot of bother and a lot of havoc in the back of their central defence.
It's ironic as well, Bridge, because Kemar Roof, if he'd left the club in the summer, a lot of supporters would probably have not been that bothered and probably expected it. And now we're talking about sticking them on the park on Sunday and starting, because let's not be kidded, we bought two strikers, probably paid the best part of, I don't know, anything about 5 million for the two of them, or 6 million between them, whatever it was. They should have been up and running, and we shouldn't even been talking about Kemar Roof, should we?
Yeah, 100%. We seem to have painted over the last three years to a certain extent, because he did well when he first came in, and he was brilliant in Europe. He scored a couple of fabulous goals in Europe, and in the league as well, But it's 2 seasons in a row there, he just injured, and I thought it was interminable. So the hope that all the Rangers fans have got, if they've got any hope, that Roof actually hits it off, and he scored a cracking goal last weekend. So we've got nothing to complain about there. His ability to score goals is there. But you're right, you think Roof's been here for a long time, in my opinion. But we haven't seen him that much. I don't know the stats of how many games he's actually played, but it's not that much, actually, I certainly know in the last 2-3 seasons. But let's hope he picks up, and I hope the manager's going to play him, and I hope he plays. I don't hope he doesn't play anything too fancy. I think the manager likes a 4-3-3, and I'm quite happy with that. It gives a bit of width to the game for us, have a chance to get a bit of width in anyway. So I like to see that happening too. But Roof, for sure, he's got to play. And I don't know if Dessers will play, but I think Roof's got to play. If he's fit, of course. If he's fit.
I think if he's fit, I think he's probably got a good chance of playing. If you two guys hit mute, we'll hear a wee bit from Michael Beale on the transfer news. Okay. And we'll come back and talk about that.
Michael, transfer deadline day, are you expecting a busy end to it?
No, to be honest. I think we front-loaded early in terms of our recruitment. It might be a loan, maybe, for one of the younger members of the squad, but unless I receive a phone call in the short period, then it won't be one that's drawn out late into the evening, no.
In terms of incomings, do you feel you're done for the window?
Listen, I think 9 players coming into a squad. It's important that squad has time to settle down. We don't have any injuries at this moment in time, so the squad's looking healthy. The squad size has come down and in size and average age, so I think we're okay. We're good to go. And naturally, every manager's going to sit here and say they would like one more, but if we don't, then we're happy with the squad that we got moving forward.
Was that really the plan all along, to get to today and not have to do much business because you'd been busy earlier on in the window?
Yeah, listen, the board really supported the plan that we all had, from the chairman down, and James and myself. We sat and looked at the squad. Going into the summer, we had a number of players moving on and an ageing squad in some areas, and the contract situation enabled us to refresh the squad in terms of age and we think assets moving forward. And so we're sticking with that plan and onwards and upwards with this group of players.
Michael, can I just ask you, just to return to recruitment slightly? You said obviously that we would go early, which we have, but you also mentioned that you would like to bring in a left-sided centre-back and maybe a Ryan Kent replacement. Mm-hmm. That's not happened as yet. Did we try for that, or did you try and recruit for that, or are you just happy to go with what we've got at the moment?
Well, we went a long way down the route, without giving you the inside and outs on names or anything. We went a long way down the road with a left centre-back earlier in the window to provide competition for Ben, and the fact that we wanted to work with a back three this season. If ideally we wanted that option, and we were priced out. He moved to a Premier League club for more than what we were willing to pay, and that was all of us. That wasn't the board not willing to pay and me thinking the price that he went for was outside. We thought the value of that player. In terms of trying to get a dribble in wide areas, your first thought is obviously to look inside and see if someone can step up. And I think we've seen a big step up from Ravi Matondo, and the return to fitness of Tom Lawrence gives me a lot of optimism that obviously the fans have not seen yet Tom back, but by the time we get back from the international break, I think he's ready to start games and become a main player in our team again. So you weigh everything up, Steve, and I think that's where we're at. Ben Davies came into pre-season injured off an injury at the back of last season. He's been fit for the last 2 weeks, but I feel that John Suter has been playing well enough to keep him out of the team. So I feel that we have adequate players to get us to where we want, certainly to the next window.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Well, Jaffa, we've got enough to the next window. What do you think of that?
Well, on his head be it, Southside. I mean, he'll live by those decisions, and if he feels he's got enough and we're not going to be bringing anybody else in, then it's his call, it's his words. So, it's a matter now of just getting on with it and see if he can navigate his way to the top of the league and to keep us there, and also keep them away from the top of the league, because ultimately that's what he's going to be judged on. And obviously we've got the Europa League draw, which was made today as well. So we've got 6 games in the Europa League, which we should be, excited about and look forward to, because we've got a good chance of getting out of that group. We've got a strong chance of getting out of that group. So he's got a lot of football between now and Christmas to the next window, as he says. So the bit that I did find interesting was that they had planned to go to a 3 at the back. So I'm still wondering, then, if Ben Davies is still there, then why couldn't that be a possibility? Or does he not feel Ben Davies is up to the job?
Stuart, I've said on here, I said it on before I said that he wouldn't leave in the transfer window. That was my gut feeling. Mm-hmm. I think he had a few shaky moments last year, but I think he's comfortable on the ball. I think he's a good passer. He can switch it. Lacks probably aerial ability, which is nothing new. But your defence suitors sometimes all right. He's a bit more dominant than Golson, but he could go to a back 3. No, for this game, obviously, on Sunday, but I believe he could go to a back 3 with Davies, Suter, and Golson.
I think so. I mean, what I would like to see is, I think there's communication to the bench, if you like. Bill's making the decisions, right, do this, do that. And I think that's what causes the confusion, the 4-1-4. It's trying to be too complicated. You should take a code, like they put one finger up, that means it's 3-4-2, 2 fingers up or whatever, that's a different code. You don't need much more than that, so they could switch that at a sort of click of a finger so people know exactly what their job is. I get the feeling sometimes they didn't know what their job is. And I agree, a back three would be quite good, because that would give the cover to Tav. If he's going up, the guy on the right could come out, or the guy on the left could go out for Barisic or something. But again, when you get to the middle of the park, I've not been that keen. No, keen's the right word. Impressed with Raskin over the last 2 or 3 games. I felt his passing's not that great. He's all right at tackling, and some bits he's all right. And then if you look at the first goal last week, he was kind of ball watching. He tried to make a run in to stop this boy. He gets caught out a wee bit like that. He's a good player. I think he'll come good. I think the recruitment's been fine. I'm okay with the recruitment. I just worry about the sort of mid sort of to centre a wee bit. We're a wee bit like for like with a couple of players, and maybe there's no decided on that yet. And I hear what the guys are saying. Ruth for me is a starter, and I would stick Danilo up there. Dessers is kind of needing a wee, just put out the picture. You heard them saying the day about Lawrence. He was virtually saying Lawrence is going to be a starter. So that puts something else into the mix. Who's coming out? You know what I mean?
I think Lawrence, sure. I think he could probably play off the left slightly. I think he done it at Derby Bridge. I think he was he played on the left. It's the same as Todd Cantwell Bridge as well. If you look back and you watch certain clips in Norwich at the time, he wasn't always playing this number 10 role that we'd sort of advanced him into. He did play there sometimes, but he was all over the park at times in clips that you watch him in Norwich. He'd pick the ball up deep and then go and make a run and play 1-2s. And I think Tom Lawrence is the same. He had the durability where he played in the Championship, and it's a hard league to get out in. It's the 3 games a week, and he's at the right age. But Bill's talking about him coming back and going to be wonderful. We don't know yet because he's been out for a long time with an injury, Bridge.
Yeah, we're like a lot of Rangers fans, myself included. We like what we saw with Lawrence. I thought he a really good player, very intelligent player. He was smashing shot on him, and knew what to do with football. That's the way I thought about it anyway. Always made himself available, and was a good nice passer to the ball, and all these good things that footballers can be. And I thought Tom Lawrence was that. Obviously, just as you said there, latterly, we don't know if he's going to be fit properly, but he's been out a long time, and he's had a lot of time to get himself back into some sort of form, some sort of fitness, and the manager and the management team are watching over that. And if he plays him against Celtic, then he must be fit. He's got to be fit. I mean, can't accept anybody that's no fit playing against Celtic. We just can't have it, because it's a high game, a high tempo game, and it's 100 mile an hour right from the start, and no questions asked, and no ground given by either team, and that's what normally happens. So Lawrence is going to be key. If he's coming in, he's going to be a key player for the manager, and he's got to be fit. I hope he is, because I'm desperate to see him. I think he's a smashing player.
I think you could see the ability that he had in the short spell of time we saw him, Jaffa. But the same as Hadji, we've seen what he had, then he went out for that long term with injury, and then we wanted you think that it'd be the same player you get back. But I think if we can get Tom Lawrence back to what we've seen he had about him at the start, I think he'll be a good player for us. On that note, as we were talking about getting players back, obviously Glenn Kamara left the club. And I think for what we paid for him and what he done, especially in the European runs when he was him, Stephen Davis and Ryan Jack in the midfield, I think he's a good player. I think he'll do well in the Championship, and if Leeds get promoted, then I think he'll probably go in and do well. He's a comfortable player. He's quite skillful, and I think probably a year ago he sort of lost his way for about last year, and it's probably good that he moved on, Jaffa, and wish him all the best.
Yep, absolutely. Southside, none but good luck to wishes to Glenn Kamara. I hope he goes on and really nails it down at Leeds. I hope he gets them promoted. I do like Leeds. I've got a wee soft spot for them. So, and I think they're too big a club to be in the Championship. I know that means nothing, and it's just words, but they're a massive football club in that part of the world, and they deserve to be in the Premier League. But if Glenn can be part of getting them back there, then good on him. He's a classy player, Glenn Kamara. Sometimes it looked a bit unorthodox when he was, in game time. He would look a bit slow, but he had that real kind of blind dummy, didn't he? Which we all seen on a number of occasions, which was brilliant. One in particular, I remember the goal where he dummied the ball and it ran right through to Scott Arfield against that lot, and cracking goal. Just sold Scott Brown a 52 bus down Govan Road, didn't he? That was a great move. He's a good player, Glenn Kamara. As I said, Southside. I think he'll do well down there. And I don't know what happened at Rangers. I'm not sure. I don't think any of us know what happened. How it became disinterested, or he wanted to move on. But he was at that point. His contract, he had 2 years left. It was the right thing to do. The club have done absolutely. I've got nothing. The club have made the right decision. Glenn had to move. We've got good money for him, considering what we paid for him and what we've made on him. He's helped pay for probably a big part of the players that have been signed that are there just now. So from that perspective, it's been the right move all round.
It certainly has. Just before I come to Stuart, can we just give a big shout out to Mandy and a speedy recovery for everybody at Rangers Radio. Stuart, Glenn Kamara certainly wasn't a massive goal scorer for us, but he certainly done a job in the midfield for what he's done over the last few seasons for us, and the style of play that we had at the time he was playing in it.
Well, I thought he was a very clever player. The way he goes into space, and as you say, he had that wee drop of the shoulder, and it's like a Messi. I'm not saying he was like Messi, but Messi had that. He dipped the shoulder and went the other way. The defender or midfielder didn't know where he was going to go. It's quite what I would call an elegant player, if you like. I didn't need to score a lot of goals, but he created space because of his movement, and that drew people in, and he was able to just do a wee shimmy or that, a wee spray of the ball. And it kind of opened things up for us. So he was a good player. I think he went a bit down when there was a big sort of move on him for France. I think he fancied going to France because I believe he's got sort of a connection to France, relations out there. And I think it was at Lille he was going to or something, I can't remember. But they were rumoured to be 10 million. I think he's sort of got a bit disheartened after that. I really do. But I'm not going to criticise the boy. We paid 50 grand for him, and he virtually paid for Danilo and maybe a bit of Dessers or something, or maybe the two of them, I don't know. So we've come out the transfer window not too bad. One thing before I can't be going for the tune, and I'll go. Basically, I think last year Beale never had a lot of tinkering today because he never had a big pool of players. This year he's got a lot of players and he's tinkering about a wee bit, and he's still to find who fits in where. And I think that's the biggest issue. Look, with that, guys, I'll let you get on with the tune, and it's been nice speaking to you again. I'll catch you later sometime, okay?
No worries, Stuart. Thanks for calling in, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, lad.
See you, Stuart.
Cheers, and guys. Cheers. Bye.
Bridge, if you want to say something quickly, then we'll get the tune in. If you want to say something briefly about Glenn Kamara.
Yeah, I wish the guy all the best. Obviously, he's a smashing player for us. I think the last 18 months there, it's been a terrible time for him. And when he's came on, he's only shone for a few seconds at a time. But unfortunately, I wish him all the best in his endeavour. I don't know what we get. Did we get 5 million? According to the paper, they're saying something like 5 million, but it was undisclosed. So I wish him all the best, seriously, and thanks for your time when you're here.
All right, well, it's came to that time, guys. If you want to go and get a quick coffee, we're going to have a tune.
Every Saturday we follow, we cheer the boys in blue, the most successful team in football. We're Scotland's gallant few, though at times they have been hard, we've followed near and far. You will always hear us roaring from the stands in Ibrox Park.
Successful team in football.
successful team in football. We're Scotland's gallant few, who times they have been hard, will follow near and far. You will always hear us roaring from the stands at Ibrox Park. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Looking forward to that on Sunday, rippling round the stadium, Jaffa. It certainly makes some noise, doesn't it, when it starts to get right round the whole stadium. Everybody gets right behind it.
They do. It's a great tune, that. Aye, 360 degrees Proddy surround sound. That's what I'm looking forward to. I love that.
The big man's in the video as well. Big man's in the video.
He is.
Bridge, take it, you'll be up there, stoning, clapping, joining in. Is he on mute? Maybe no. Anyway, Jaffa, last man standing this weekend. There is only 8 people left. 8. And we know Ox is out because he went out in the first week.
Is Alec Kelly went for Celtic again?
I believe Alex Kelly is probably out. I did get a text saying there's a chance they thought he actually picked him this week, but I believe I had to send a text back saying nah, it's not true. He's actually out.
He's banned.
I've kept Rangers until this weekend.
Good for you.
Because I'm still in. So good luck to everybody that's left. 8 is this weekend and the last man standing. So.
I used my Rangers card last weekend, so I've went for the sheep this weekend.
Oh, have you? So you're one of the 8 then, are you? You're one of the other 7 then, eh? Good.
Who are they playing?
I actually can't remember, Bridge, if the truth be told.
Well, I've kept it famous till Sunday because that was always the plan when it started, so there's no point in changing. But I just thought that's it. So good luck to me and you and the other 6.
The other 6.
Well, obviously we had the Europa League draw today as well. And we've got Real Betis and we've got our sort of pals that we've played in the past, Sparta Prague and Aris Limassol, Jaffa. Couple of wee holiday destinations there.
Aye. Not been in Cyprus for a number of years. I fancy that one. That sounds like a good trip. It's always warm there too as well. It's a bit like Tenerife. Cyprus is that'll be a good wee trip. And obviously back to Seville with Betis. They're a decent side, the Spanish top team. So they're probably the ones that we'll be up against most. And then obviously you've got Sparta Prague, who are no slouches, by the way. They won the league last year. They won the Czech league last year, so they're no any. I don't think we should underestimate. I think we should underestimate any of them, to be honest with you. Even Aris will be a. But I think we've navigated our way out of a couple of these groups now, Southside, over the last few years. And I still believe it's in anything Europe, the secret's to win your home games. If you win your home games and pick up a couple of draws, well, you're through, aren't you? At least you're going to get a second place. You're through to the last 32. So, and it's European football after Christmas, and that's got to be the target. That's got to be the target. And anything can happen then on in. It's a lottery. It's a knockout draw. But getting through, place 1 or 2 in the group, would be a tremendous achievement, I think. And it looks like it'll be a nice group. It'll be some good football in there.
Aye, Real Betis, obviously, technically, Bridge, they'll be a good team. And like you said, Sparta Prague, Czech Republic teams are usually technically pretty decent. I think that big Souček played against us a few years back and ended up at West Ham. And obviously the Heat and Limassol and Cyprus. But you're looking at it, if we finish first or second, we qualify. If you finish third, you'll drop down into that other conference group game, so you still have football after Christmas. But I believe it's a group that we should be topping or at least finishing second in, Bridge.
Well, I would imagine that we should all be feeling the same thing. By the sound of it, and I'm only going by the sound of it, those teams, Rangers should be able to equip themselves handsomely against those teams. They're nowhere near the same quality as the teams that we've played up to now, and I'm quite sure that we should be able to do that. Very confident in Rangers in this level of football. It seems to be for the last 4 seasons or something. Let's say 4 seasons we've been in the Europa League and we've played really, really well a load of times, and even got to the final. So we're a well-quoted team. Our club, rather. Sometimes our team isn't as good as our club, if you follow me. But now I think the players that we've got should be able to go to town and pick up some points there in the league. I'm really confident we'll be able to do it.
I think the key thing is Jaffa, you say, it's about winning your home games. But we need to make sure that we've got a settled team by the time we go into this competition. We've got to see that, as he says, you'll start to see maybe 10 or 11 most players will be nailing the shirts if you make it your own. But we need to start to be playing decent football, but then we need to have a decent passing game. You've got to be able to hold the ball in Europe and pass it well. And that's something that we've noticed, that when we've been pressed quite quickly, we've not managed to do it. But it's only judging that by Europe. We don't get tested enough in Scotland. But if you're just talking about the difference, because you're not getting tested in Scotland, so when we're in that European arena, even though we're expecting to do well in it, we've got to keep the ball. It's all right saying we got to the final that year and that, but tactically, maybe Gio was a bit more better tactical wise than maybe Michael Beale's shown the new Jaffa in Europe.
Fair point. Well, I mean that absolutely is a fact, Southside, because I mean obviously just look at who Gio played for and what he's done as a manager and what he done with us. I mean he still navigated his way through to the final, the way we set up. Michael Beale's, as you say, good point. Got a lot of learning to do. He's never mind. Is a rookie manager in the sense that he's a manager of a club our size. He's not. I mean, up until the qualifiers, that was his first time managing in the European arena against Servette and then ultimately PSV. So, I mean, going back, I know we're rewinding to the first hour there, chatting about the game on Wednesday night, and it was something you said, Southside. See if we are going back to that potential zonal defending. I honestly, it's a bit like that, playing the ball through the back, and we look at the goal we gave away on Wednesday night, doing that, playing, trying to play the ball out, goalie playing it out to the defender, and the defender playing it back to him. I mean, that for me is just that's you shouldn't be playing football at that end of the park, and you shouldn't be defending like that. That's not how you defend crosses. I agree with what Port Bear was saying last night. Anytime I ever played football, you always want to be touch tight. You want to feel your player running about you, whether you're beside him, shoulder to shoulder, he's in front of you, joking about. And your ultimate goal is to basically destroy him and make sure you block his run. Or if you don't block his run, you block one of his other players that's going to make a run into the box. And if you look at the way any other decent European teams defend against us, that zonal marking systems, I just don't think it works. I don't see any team that deploys it, that makes it work and makes it work successfully. It's just not how you defend in my eyes. Maybe you're a better verse to answer that, Bridge, than any of us.
Well, I'm sure if Bridge was playing last week, Jordan White was the big centre forward, and a couple of times when we were putting the ball in, I'm sure we had one man going on and marking them. I mean, you've got to mark the threat, Bridge. And last week for them, it said PCC was the threat. There's no point in being zonal, Bridge. in the box if he's going to move and run. Because if you're that big, Bridge, you're going to go and look for the weakest person in the defence if you're going to the back post or something. We used that tactic with Lee McCulloch, playing out wide, going in at the back of the left backs, if you remember.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And you're right. The big fella up there, the big fella White, he got through once and he had a smashing header. Well, unfortunately, he never turned his head to header it sideways or he got it in the net. He headed it kind of straight where he was looking, maybe 3 yards past the post. But no, that was a great chance. And nobody knew him, not so. But most of the other times, either it was picked up by one of our centre halves, and the safety was there. You know what? You just got to pick up your man, ain't you? You just got to pick up your man. You play your man, and everything should be okay, providing you come out on top. That's the way I look at it.
I think most of the time, Jaffa, I think we can see that Jack Butland will come for crosses. He's organising the defence. Seems to be shouting and balling a lot more for what I noticed when he first came in. Probably got a presence about him, and he had tough boots to fill in Alan McGregor. Maybe not in the final season, Alan McGregor thing, but to come in and fill the jersey. So you'd like to think that he'll start maybe commanding the defence, but I think it's just down to the coaching staff. I don't know. I think we should get back to marking players, because then you pass responsibility when a goal gets lost. They start looking at each other and saying, "Well, maybe it wasn't me, and it maybe wasn't me," and it's annoying. But I don't think we've been too bad in the league for any sort of set pieces and crosses, you know.
No, we haven't been Southside, because obviously, as we spoke about earlier on there, when you go into playing teams like PSV, you're getting up a level. That's just a fact, you are. And we'll notice that even in the Europa League campaign. Betis will be probably not at a similar level, I would suspect, from PSV, maybe not quite as technical. And obviously the two guys that they had on the wings last night, Bakayoko's, just as you said earlier, signed for, is it Brentford he's went to, or Brighton? For £40 million. So I don't suspect Betis will have two players like that, but they'll still have some decent quality players. And even Sparta Prague will be a technical team. But I would prefer us just to defend as a defensive unit and defend the box, whether it be Jack Butland coming out, and I agree, Southside, I think he's been a revelation at the back. You can see the back four gaining confidence, especially in domestic form. He's pulling off some wonderful saves, some brilliant saves. He had some cracking saves the other night. He's been some winning-wins, and the odd chances that, for example, Livingston have been getting against us, or Ross County last week, he's dealt with it, and he's commanding the whole area of the box and getting involved. And as his confidence growing with joining a new club, he'll be feeling more comfortable around the environment, and I think that'll just grow and that kind of security will grow within the back four, back five. But not when we're playing like Connor and Big John Sutter played the other night there. I mean, the two of them, as you say, that responsibility thing and losing goals, and there's no inquest. I mean, when did that start? But nobody's looking at each other going, "What are you doing? Where were you? Why are you not defending, the front post when De Jong's..." And it wasn't even that difficult, Southside, the other night there, for De Jong to do that. He just wasn't getting marked. And I mean, it was like a winging down the fun fair. He, as I said, I don't think he lost a single header in our 6-yard box the whole night. And also I'll add another point on to that. See if there was ever an example of using a target man with two wingers and how successful you can be with it. Wednesday night was a prime example with PSV about how successful you can be with a target man, with a guy that can header the ball. And you're talking about big Jordan White, who's a big blue nose, incidentally, up at Ross County. He can header the ball for fun, and he's 6'4".
Hello.
I think we've just been joined by William. How you doing, William?
Good evening, brothers.
Hi, William.
All right. I'm still here. My ribs are still a bit sore for Wednesday, I have to say. Still a bit depressed, I've got to say. I watched the game Wednesday, and I've been listening to the show Wednesday, Thursday and tonight, and I agree with just about everything I've heard. What I don't agree with is Jack Butland. Jack Butland made some good saves, but he's got to take his share of the blame. I think the fifth goal, it was an absolute blunder. The fifth goal, I think that made the result a wee bit embarrassing. It made our performance that just added insult to injury. Made us it was a bit embarrassing. And I think the De Jong header, can he not come and punch that 6 yards out? Can he not come and punch that ball? I mean, I think De Jong's header for there's no keeper in the world who's going to save that 6 yards out. The ball at that pace, what keeper's going to save that? I mean, the nets are 24 feet wide.
Maybe didn't come out, William. I know what you're saying. It was whipped in, with a bit of pace on it. It just needed a glance.
Aye.
Probably, and he's whipped it in, and we've got Tav, who's not really jumping, and we've got Lammers, who's nowhere out the races, and it's just a simple heat flick. But I think apart from that,
says we were too deep. We're certainly defending too deep because the keeper has got no chance for there.
They say, Bridge, once you score a goal, the thing you should do is switch on straight away. Everybody says you've seen it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen, and it certainly happened to us after 91 seconds.
Well, the most dangerous time in a game is after you've scored. That's the most dangerous time because you go down. I know you're pumping and so on, but you still go down. Your attention span is lost for probably a few minutes. As we saw, you need to take on at that level of football. I'm not being funny. You're talking Champions League level there. You can't play and no concentrate for 90 minutes. And it's criminal, isn't it? I could have cried when I saw that ball going in the net. So soon after Tav's great goal, I just thought we should be going on here, and if we get anything in us, we can go on and build on that. Put a bit of pressure on, get a couple of shots in, and that doesn't need to happen. But it's so disappointing when you just switch off like that, and that's what it seems like.
When we were talking about Sunday, William, when you're looking at the team that we're going to put out, if we take it that the back four will probably be fit, because they said Borner will probably train and then he should be all right, by the sounds of it. So you'd probably take it as read for Sunday that he's going to keep the same defence. Midfield, I think he's got to get it right. I think that's where we've got to make sure that we've got ball players in there as well as one of maybe the water carriers, as you might call them, the guy that's going to get in about them and make sure you win the ball and move it on. But that's the crucial battle on Sundays, to make sure you win the midfield so we can supply the strikers.
Was non-existent.
Aye, but for going on Sunday, as we're talking about Sunday, it's more we're up against them, so it's just about us. We've got to dominate that midfield. We've got to make sure that we're right on it on Sunday. So hopefully he's going to pick the right blend in there.
That is where, as you say, that is where he's got to get it right. We've got to control that midfield. I thought on Wednesday it would have went out with 5 in the midfield because of all the possession they had the week before. I thought he'd have shored it up a bit.
I think
even Cantwell in between the Dessers and the 4, because Cantwell, he'll just go where he thinks there's a bit of trouble. But there was just too much trouble for him to cope with on Wednesday. He was all over the place he's like the wee guy sticking his finger in the dike. That's what he does. But it was just too much. So as you say, he's absolutely got to get the midfield right. We need a good, strong midfield that's going to stand up. My midfield, I think there's too many of them off it on Wednesday. And that's what caused the trouble. So as you say, he's got to get it right on Sunday.
Well, we'll tell you what, Will, you mentioned Sunday, but we'll do is if you hit yourselves in mute, we'll listen to the report.
Okay.
Hello, welcome to Port Support. It's the big one, Rangers versus Celtic at Ibrox Stadium. The first Old Firm showdown of the season takes place this weekend, with arch rivals Rangers and Celtic locking horns at Ibrox on Sunday afternoon. The Gers endured a 5-1 thrashing at the hands of PSV Eindhoven in Champions League playoffs on Wednesday, while the boys were held to a goalless draw by St Johnstone last time out. Rangers and PSV Eindhoven headed into the second leg of the Champions League playoff with a finely poised 2-2, but the Dutch side ended up notching a 7-3 aggregate victory after putting 5 past Michael Beale's men on Wednesday. Rangers already find themselves a point behind Celtic in the Scottish Premier table, after suffering a shock 1-0 defeat to Kilmarnock on the opening weekend, despite racking up 18 shots and 69% possession at Rugby Park. However, the Gers bounced straight back with a 4-0 victory over Livingston before defeating Roskilde 2-0, meaning that Beale's side have scored 6 in their previous 2 league encounters while keeping a couple of clean sheets for good measure. It goes without saying that Rangers will be disappointed to have missed out on the place in the Champions League, but they can make amends for Wednesday's failure by claiming the Glasgow bragging rights at the expense of their bitter rivals this weekend. Under the guidance of Ange Postecoglou, Celtic won 32 of their 38 league games en route to securing a treble last season, but Celtic have already dropped points and suffered League Cup elimination since Rodgers' return. Rangers are still without long-term injury absentee Steve Davis, whose last appearance came back in December 2022, while Kieran Dowell and Ruud van Yilmaz are also sidelined through injury. Michael Beale will likely continue with his 4-3-1-2 formation this weekend, with the midfield trio of Cifuentes, Lundstrom and Raskin operating in front of the back four. Todd Cantwell is expected to offer attacking support to Robbie Matondo and Cyril Dessers, who chalked up 2 goals and 2 assists in the last 7 appearances. On the flip side, Celtic have captain Cameron Vickers, James McCarthy and Mike Nawarki sidelined due to muscle issues, meaning that Brendan Rodgers has limited defensive options, while Rio Hatate, Yuki Kobayashi, Onyon Gyu, Marco Tilo and Stephen Welsh are also injured. Rodgers can't afford to make too many changes in the starting 11 that started last weekend. Surprise draw with St Johnstone. Maeda, Kyogo and Hong Yong-jun will continue to occupy the forward line in a 4-3-3 formation, while Matt O'Reilly, Callum McGregor and David Turnbull are expected to operate in midfield. Rangers' possible team: Butland, Tavernier, Goldson, Suter, Barisic, Cifuentes, Lundstrom, Raskin, Cantwell, Matondo and Dessers. Celtic's possible lineup: Hart, Johnston, Legerkeek, Scales, Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Turnbull, Maeda, Furuhashi and Yang. My team prediction will be 2-0 to Rangers. And that's the end of Port Report.
Fair play to the Port. He always does a good detailed report. But he must have watched the game on Wednesday with his eyes shut. If I was thinking that Cifuentes is going to get into that midfield with Lundstrom and Raskin, I don't know what you think, Jaffa. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I've not got Cifuentes. I've got him on the bench. I don't think he's starting.
Absolutely.
I don't know if the lads maybe just caught up with him with I know he's played a fair whack of football himself in the States, but he looked a mile off it. A mile off it. I mean, he wasn't a yard out behind. He was a couple of yards. So no, for me, Southside, I wouldn't have him in the starting 11. Not for me.
No, listen, I know Michael Beale Bridge has talked him up. He's going to make this big difference to our team, he said, once he gets going. He's box to box. But you look at players' own performances, and then you can see maybe a player has a bad game one week or not so good, but he might be in the team the following week, and if he's improved, then you don't mind. But the wee man's just looked a wee bit off the pace, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's sad to hear, but again, the last 2 games we've played, he hasn't been 100% in the game. But I think he'll play him again. I really do think he'll play him again against them, and he'll get a particular position he's going to shine in. I'm quite sure of it. I think he's a cracking wee player. He's just got to keep his momentum going for his own self, I just think he's got a great wee player, a great asset for us, and a great signing.
William, I could tell earlier when we were talking, I don't think you think that'll be the midfield either, With Lundstrom and...
Absolutely not. No, Cifuentes is the first one I was taking out the team.
In fairness, he might be slightly played out of position, William. I don't think he actually plays that sort of wide right position.
Mm-hmm. But he just looks to me like he's just not fit enough at the moment. I'd put Lawrence in, and I'd be starting with Roof. I think Roofs is well suited. If he's fit, he's well suited to the Scottish game. Okay, and they're rough and tumble.
I agree. I think if Roof's got a level of fitness, Jaffa, which he's obviously played him against Ross County and started him for a reason. He wants to get game time into him. I wouldn't be surprised if Kemar Roof starts on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that was what it was. The minute I saw him in the team last week, Southside, and getting the goal, and I actually seen him as well. I mean, he's 60 minutes, so I think he's been primed and probably been, doing his own programme back at the training centre with the rest of the lads. I don't know if Tom Warren's, because he's not had any he's not had any game time. I don't know if he put him in. I mean, I would certainly have Lawrence on the bench, William, and maybe look at bringing him on at the 60-minute mark to freshen it all up. But again, you don't know, because we're not seeing these guys at close quarters, so you don't know. Tom Warren's could be turning in numbers and busting a gut, and only the close confidants of the club and the training centre know these figures and information. But I'm like yourself. I certainly would have taken Cifuentes out and maybe just brought him on again. It makes the bench a lot stronger. I personally would have started with Jack and Raskin, along with Cantwell and Matondo, and I would start with a 4-4-2. That would be my middle of the park.
I wouldn't start with him. I think he's an impact player. I think he's all about pace. He's obviously, in my opinion, he's not a goal scorer. I think we saw that. He's not a goal scorer.
William,
he's got something, and he's got pace. There's no doubt about that.
William, see if you were controlling the game on Sunday and we're on top and we're creating the chances, that's when Matondo will probably be effective.
That's right.
If you're not controlling the game and you're sitting defending, he's only tracking back to cover. So if he's putting them in the team, we've got to be controlling the game bridge. We've got to be getting him into positions where we're putting the ball through, where he's running onto, because that's the one thing that we've not created. He's the one that we've done it for, obviously the goal in the Europe 2 weeks ago. But taking that aside, we need Dessers' bridge to be getting chances created in front of him. He's not actually getting that clear-cut chance where he's getting a chance to run through and goal with just a goalie to beat. The only time that's happens when he's took a penalty. The only time he's been 1-on-1 with a goalie. We're not creating for a striker. We're not creating for us. He's not had that chance, Bridge. You know what I mean? We're not creating. We're not getting the service through to him.
Yeah, he seems to be guarding the centre halves for people. I mean, when we're pushing, he's going right up. I maybe he wants to play off our shoulder. I don't know, but we need to. If we're going to do that, you're right. We need to play decent balls through. The truth of the matter is, the teams that we've played when we've been pressing up, there's been I'm not talking about the European games in the league. The teams that we've been playing against, I'm afraid that there have been 6 and 7 players right next to Dessers, and the ball comes to him at times. So it's been very difficult for him. But that's you're right. What we need to do is we need to find our man. If Dessers were fit centre forward, then we need to make him look that centre forward and pass to him properly, or make balls for him to run onto. Whatever it needs to do, we need to do it. It's the same with Matondo, as you mentioned earlier. He's got to get decent passes. Somebody can run onto and with a pace. That's what we're looking for. And look, we're showing the boy can do it. That shows that we can do it. Our players can do that. Can find them. So obviously, 2 players that we need in the game: Dessers and Matondo, in my opinion. That's if Matondo's playing.
Could he fling a curveball in, Jaffa, and play Roof and play Seema through the middle with Roof running about him, and no play Matondo wide? Because I think we need to get the ball from midfield into creative players that can get you up the park, or play the 1-2s round about the edge of the box. I think we need to get ball players in the middle of the park on the ball that can go forward, beat a man, and do what we're expecting to do. Go and play 1-2s and go on the ball.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, Seema's, by all accounts, he's a centre forward. He's a striker. That's his main role. That's what he prefers to play. That's where he sees himself. He's not an actual out-and-out winger. The only reason I would have played Matondo, I'd have played Matondo for 2 reasons. Fundamentally because of his speed, which incidentally he showed again the other night there when he went by their central defender. The guy had about 3 yards start on him, and he still got ahead of him. And if the guy put a tug out and put his arm out to haul him down, I would have went down if I was Matondo, because he was last man. He would have got a red card. That's a side issue. But I would play Matondo for another reason on Sunday, because Alistair Johnson won't come up the park line. He won't leave him, because Matondo's too quick. So he won't leave him. He'll stay. So you're holding him back. So you're pinning them back right away. And he's one of their more creative, forward-thinking wing backs, if you want. So that's the only reason I would play Matondo. I happen to think he could really cause them a lot of bother at the back, again, because the guy that they're bringing in that they're planning to play at the centre backs, he hasn't played a competitive football match since January. The boy they've just signed from Liverpool. In fact, he's only played 6 games in the last 12 months, competitive league games. So I felt Matondo was better being on the part in the early part of the game to try and get a foothold in it and get control of it. And I would definitely have Cantwell in the middle of the park, and I would play Raskin in there, because I think they are your ball players, south side. I'm not sure who else we could have, maybe not remember all the players off the top of my head who else we could have in there. But I would have Jack and Raskin. Jack for protection, Raskin pushing forward with Cantwell and Matondo and Roof and Dessers up front, or Seema, or possibly Seema, because he's got the height and he's got pace and he's got power. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say about Seema. He's powerful, he's strong, and he's quick on the turn. So, I mean, we've got an array of options, and maybe too many options, to be honest with you, because I don't think any of us can pick a team, which is a great thing from a manager's point of view, or is it?
Well, talk about forward thinking, creative, and picking teams. I think it's time to hear the South Side Super Six.
Ooh.
Hi, welcome to Southside Super 6 for September the 2nd. My first selection is Swindon to beat Doncaster away from home. My second selection is Norwich to beat Rotherham away from home. My third selection is West Brom to beat Huddersfield. Fourth selection is Manchester City to beat Fulham. The fifth selection is Barnsley to beat Cheltenham away from home. And the last selection of the 6 is Falkirk to beat FC Edinburgh away from home. If you take all 6, it pays 22 to 1. How could you not?
I don't see Man City beating Fulham. I can't see that.
Nah, and sometimes you've got to try and take a banker, William. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, of course you do. Of course you do.
I would have been up last week, mate, for 3 minutes.
Aye.
Aye, 5 out of 6.
I thought you were kind of close. I thought you were there or thereabouts, you know.
Aye, so what do you think, Jaffa? 4 aways and 2 at home.
You never know, mate. You never know. I mean, 22 to 1, a tenner on that. I'll tell you that. You're singing all the way to the pub on Saturday night, aren't you? Or Sunday night.
Doncaster, they had a tough game during the week, didn't they? They had a tough cup game during the week.
Well.
Did they lose in penalties or did they lose to a late goal?
Don't know, never noticed. But
I saw the highlights, and it was quite a fast, hard game they had.
But aye, that's the 6 for this week.
Aye.
Do you think, William, Lammers?
No.
It's all right saying Wolf,
he's just not showing us enough, is he? There's something there, you know, there's something there, there's glimpses. You know, we've seen glimpses. And it looks like he could carry the ball, you know, it looks like a man who could carry the ball, maybe make things happen. It's just, you know, as we keep saying it, it's too early, isn't it? It's too early to condemn it all because there's all these different combinations. I think, see Matondo, he's an absolute fly machine, but what is the end product? Is there much of an end product? And I think if Matondo's up the left there, you're not getting Barisic swinging that ball into the area. I think that kind of stifles that.
Aye, but if you're getting him into forward position, see, that was the thing about Ryan Kent, Jaffa. We never got Ryan Kent into positions very often where we put a through ball and he was one-on-one with a goalkeeper. we were wanting him to go and create, and he's cutting across the middle of the park. We've got a player who will get his goat space, and we're only judging him really now, Jaffa, for what we're seeing from him, because we'd seen the odd glimpse, but nothing like we're seeing now from Matondo. But it's confidence, and it's probably believing in himself, and he's back in the Welsh team. He's been selected for that.
Good.
Yeah, I seen that today, Southside, and well on the young fella. I hear what you're saying, William. I mean, he scored a brilliant goal against PSV, a week ago, by busting for the back.
Yeah,
So he knows, and Miller Knight there, he had a couple of amazing runs. One he hit the post with, which I thought was a brilliant run. And he flicked the ball through a boy's legs and twisted and turned his way through another couple of players. So he clearly, the thing I like about him is I think he's more direct than Ryan Kent, because he actually runs towards the goals rather than running away for the goals. I agree with you from a wing point of view. He doesn't look like the type of guy that's going to take on 3 or 4 guys, a couple of step overs down the wing. But I just think that he brings more to the team than he offers, if you know what I mean, against them, because he can turn, especially when you're defending. He can turn defence into attack almost instantaneously. And that I think is a great quality in any team to have. So he can drag you right up the park, which ultimately brings the other team back up the park. So I don't see him not starting. I don't think Michael Beale won't start him either. I'll be honest with you. I think he's trying to give him more game time, and I think I agree with Southside. The more game time the young fella gets, I think he's only going to get better as he gets more confidence. And I think you can see that coming by game by game. I mean, these guys like him, these wingers and these forward-thinking players with the kind of pace he's got, it's all about game time. And it's no coincidence that he's been getting game time, and we've started to see the real Rabbi Matondo, if you want, the guy that we signed a year ago. Maybe
we should put him on the right, because see if he was on the right, because then when he attacked and he had a shot, he'd be quick enough to be back and defend. Quicker than Tav,
Well, the thing is,
Tav goes up the park, but he's not quick enough to get back. Nobody is, but maybe Matondo would be.
That comes down to tactics again.
Matondo played all his best football when he was on loan in Belgium, playing for the left wing. That's where he was comfortable playing that position, Bridge. And it's like we said, players have got to have confidence. They've got to get a run of games. There's no point coming in the team here and there, Bridge, and then you're out the team for 5 weeks, and then you have to come in and play a cameo for 10 minutes, and then you're back out, especially the wingers. We've actually got 2 wingers way pace. I mean, as much as I'll say it, he's still there. Scott Wright has got plenty of pace, but he's another one that smiles out the picture again now and had chances, but at times he showed flashes. But it's like once you're out the picture, Bridge, and you're a winger, if you're not going to get back in the team and other people are coming in and the shape changes, then you could be out there for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. It's important for us and Matondo, for instance, when we're playing these players have got to feel really, really good about their game and about themselves, and we've got to make them feel that way. And by involving him in the game, he's a really clever wee player. But if he's not on the game, you saw the other night there, I'll not bother with this free kick, I'll just stand out here in the wing. Who's going to pass to you in the wing from a free kick that's going to go across, It's just not going to happen. So there's lots of wee things that he needs to do as well. But yeah, I think it's really difficult for Rangers, because they like to have both people on the wings that could play football. And we're lucky. I thought Kent for a couple of seasons was absolutely outstanding. Best player in Scotland by a mile. But Matondo has not reached those sort of peaks yet. And I hope he does this season. And I hope he starts on Sunday. That's what I want. Get out there and show him what you can do, son, and do it.
When you think back to...
Ryan Kent was a boy that wanted to play football, and he gets sick to death of the teams parking the bus and putting 2 and 3 defenders on him. I think he gets sick to death of that, and he couldn't get away from us quick enough.
I think Ryan Kent... See, when you think about him, for the time we had him, right, if you look at wingers that we've had in the past, right, people going about Davy Cooper and that, right, we can go on about Davy Cooper, but if you just think of the wingers in the past, like Neil McCann, we had Mark Walters. Even when you think back to having Mark Walters in the team when he played, even Peter Hoekstra was another one when he came up here and he played wide. They played wide on the line, and they could beat players, and they could have good delivery, and they scored goals in big games for us. But Ryan Kent, he got some goals. The goal he scored against Europe when we're going to the final and that, and he tore Dortmund apart that night. They were games in Europe that I remember him for, and penalty incidents and stuff. But William, when you look at what he done in the league, I think the players gave us more quality than what Ryan Kent gave us in the time he was here.
Aye. Mm-hmm. I think he totally lost interest in our league because it's crap. He's a boy that wants to play football, and he just gets suffocated in the SPL because it's rubbish. All these teams that part the bus, and we've got to try and break them down. It's just too much, you know. And for a ball player, it's just their worst nightmare. I mean, look at these Kilmarnock Rangers games. They're getting to be, they're not worth watching. They're a nightmare to watch at Rugby Park. Absolute nightmare. 6 at the back they're playing. Who's want to watch that?
That's just that's what hampers you, William, when you go into Europe and you're trying to compete against teams. There's a massive gap, and even in this Europa League, we'll get tested as well. You know, because it's just the way we play the game. We can give the ball away here, Jaffa, and we can get it back very quickly. We're up against teams that are going to come and attack us. There's teams that have got quick physical pace, and dare I say it, probably most of their teams' fitness levels are probably better than ours, and that's sad to probably see. Like we've spoken about on here before, players for the continent, that first touch is better, and they're technically better, and also they look fitter.
Well, again, going back to the point we were saying earlier on there, Southside, when I get just because it's in fresh in our minds, and we've just played a Dutch team, 2 weeks running there. Just talking about the Dutch Eredivisie, you look at right throughout their whole league, teams we've seen in recent years here in Scotland, playing the other lot across the city. Go Ahead Eagles. If you watch all the teams, they all play to attack. We don't do that here. It's like the exact opposite of that. We play to a lot of the teams in our Premier League play to defend. Like William was just saying, they're Kilmarnock basically setting up. And so what do you think they're doing in the training ground all week? They're doing defending drills. That's all they're doing. They're defending headers, they're defending close balls, because that's what they're setting up to do. Whereas if you compare and contrast that to the Dutch teams, and you went to their training grounds, they'll be doing drills on, swapping forward lines, whether they're playing 3 up front, whether they're playing 2 through the middle, whether they're playing 2 out wide, a false 9, inverted fullbacks. They'll be playing to attack, to score goals, i.e. to play football, which is ultimately what the name of the game is. And unless our guys that run this game in Scotland actually waking up and smell the coffee and do something about it. I mean, Dutch football have just signed a TV deal worth 180 million euros a season. We've just signed a TV deal for 30 million. All that money's filtering down through the food chain and the Dutch league. All the clubs are getting the benefit of it. We're not doing that here, and I'm not saying that our league is in comparison to Eredivisie. It's not. It's nowhere near it. But it's not. That should be the target. Holland has only got a population of whatever it is, 10.5 million. They're twice the size of what Scotland is. So if you take it in per head of capita of people, our league should be half the size of it. So we should be signing a TV deal worth 90 million. We're signing a TV deal worth 30 million. There's no money in our game. So teams like Motherwell, the maximum Motherwell can afford to pay our players $2,000 a week. What are you going to get for $2,000 a week? That wouldn't even get you probably some of the local championship teams down in England, the local teams, like Accrington Stanley and stuff like that. They're paying more than that. So that's the kind of level of Scottish football's at. It's becoming, and the distance is becoming more and more between them. I mean, we're becoming more like probably akin to the Irish leagues and the Welsh teams. And unless we actually do something about it, and it's a collective effort, all of us are part of it, but we seem to be the only ones that are talking about it, the only club that talks about it. Nobody else seems that interested in it. I mean, I heard a number of months ago or a year or so ago Hibs, Aberdeen and Hearts had set up some company to look into the way that the Scottish way they could generate more income in Scottish football. Nothing else has been said about it. I haven't heard the report, no seen it, no heard nothing about it. So from that perspective, until the powers that be stop sticking their head in the sand and thinking everything's all right, because it's not all right. It's the gap's only going to get widening. And if you look at what's happening in England and across the globe, all these leagues, their TV deals are going through the roof. We're getting left behind.
I think you'll find that our league's getting left behind, but I'm sure there's a whole load of football areas in Europe want Rangers and Celtic involved in some way, or even for the TV deal. I'm quite sure of it, but we're stymied. There's something no right about the Scottish League, the SPFL. It's just no right. They've got two teams in there that play in plastic pitches, and one of them will open their ground up to like the Rangers and Celtic and let their away fans in and fill their stadium, get the cash. Another one in other parts of they're no want any Rangers and Celtic fans in their grounds, or as little as possible. So they're biting their hand off to sweat their face. As far as I'm concerned, that's killing, they're hating themselves to death, and that's the truth. And we need, as a club, we need to be able to be on top of that ourselves. Our stadium, it's 50,000 season tickets, are close to it anyway. We can't argue. Nobody can argue with us. We've got a full stadium, and them across the city have got the same. There's the teams. The television people should be publishing all over the world, not command up in a crappy pitch. They're coming out there and they're playing 6 at the back, 7 at the back, and the press are turning and saying, "Oh, what fantastic! What a display they've come on and put on." I'm sorry, it's no. Okay, the press can be as bad as everybody else, but it's only because it's against the Rangers. That's all it is. Nothing else. There's absolutely no way any team, and they proved that with the Celtic. They've done the same thing. It was a beat 1-0. Something no right. The way the press are treating that, as you say, the Dutch TV system's up there, and they're spending millions, and they're getting quality. And you get games like they played against Rangers the other night. It's fantastic football.
You know what, Bridge, man? When I was a referee, and I used to go up to the SFA to meetings and all the rest of it, and what I've seen, it's just unbelievable. It's a rat's nest. They need to clear the place out and get people in to run it like a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's an absolute joke the way it's been run at the moment, and it's suiting the puddle drinkers, because they're winning the league every year. You're getting trebles right, left, and centre. They're getting rules changed to suit them whenever. We know they're getting fixtures changed to suit them. The Scottish government needs to stick their nose in to suit them, because they're all Celtic-minded. We know that. It needs to get shut down and emptied, and then start out with people that run it like a business, and then it'll be much better.
Aye, I get all that, and we've seen it and all that, but at the end of the day, for me, we need to get playing football ourselves and get back to winning. And Sunday for Michael Beale, giving him the benefit of the doubt last year with the older squad, because as though he failed in the games that we wanted him to win, he still got a tune out of that squad that had basically chucked it for periods of time in games. So for me on Sunday, it's about putting down a marker, Jaffa. It's the first one of the season, and let's not be kidded, they're not in any great shakes, are they? They might have bought a couple of players and that, but they wouldn't want to be getting into. They'll all be sitting probably listening to the show tonight is like today, but they'll all be sitting there not wanting that defence that they're going to be putting out on Sunday. If they had a choice, they'd want Carter Vickers and that in there. So let's not be kidded. And their goalie,
they've signed a new team this week.
Aye, but
their team since Wednesday.
Their goalie isn't they aren't up to when you're performing, by the way, William. But Sunday they're not in any great shakes, Jaffa. So let's not be kidded. We've got nothing to fear on Sunday.
No, from just purely, the preparation, on the way up to the game, Southside, they're all over the place. You know, and I know we're Rangers. I'm not interested in what goes on there, and I'm genuinely no. I don't get me wrong. I keep one eye on it because I think it's the right thing to do, and I want to know what's happening. But I'm not interested in what they do. But I'm only interested in how we set up and the news that's coming out of our camp. And we're at home on Sunday, so it's up to us. There couldn't have a better time to play them. They're hoping for a damage limitation. And if you hear any of their pundits talking, that's what they're all already saying. Because of the amount of injuries and so forth that they've got. So we've got to go. I don't care about any of that. I just want to go and absolutely put in the best performance that we possibly can, pick the players back up. And I'm quite sure Michael Beale and the management team have been trying to do that. And I hope they get a response out of the players, because they're better than what happened on Wednesday night. They've been proving that. In my opinion, they are better than what they were on Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
They shouldn't be making a stupid mistakes. And if we do get a tune at them Southside and we can get a victory on Sunday, and I believe we can get a victory on Sunday, the pendulum swings. They're already out of cup, and it's all about momentum. League campaigns are all about momentum and seizing the opportunities when they come. This is definitely an opportunity time. This is a window of opportunity for us. If we can go top of the league and an international break, we've got a fortnight to recuperate, another fortnight in the training pitch, which is brilliant, and that's what you want. I know there's a number of our players away in international duty, but there's still going to be a hardcore of them back there at Ibrox. And that's all we've got to do, is just go out and win the game and hope the manager puts an 11 players on the pitch. They can do that on Sunday.
Pridge, you looking forward to Sunday?
Oh, I can't wait. I get very excited. I'm I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going up to the old what do you call it, bistro. I'll be waiting there somewhere about 11:30 or something. I'll be there.
Well, Bridge, that's a rough area there.
That's all right. I'm quite rough.
You're rough, you're rough.
I don't know
my niece is a lawyer and she says you're rough.
Oh, you're right. But I want to go there. I went the last couple of games I was at. I went there and I only met a couple of people. But we used to go there and there was maybe sometimes a dozen people would come up. Obviously, they've got different things to do. They'll all be probably in the new club, Edwardston House. If not down there having a pint, I'll just stand out there. If anybody comes up, I'll come up. I'll be there about 12:30. See how I get on,
There's no chance of you getting in there in case you had to break a note, was there?
Absolutely right. So it's that's
10 shilling note, was that?
10 bob note, aye. I think the game in Sunday is going to be absolutely crucial for the Rangers going forward. Aye. If we can't beat this mob, given the situation that they're in, we find out. I don't know how many players are brought in, but really and truly, we need to give ourselves a good shake. They've got a massive opportunity here. We're at Ibrox. They've got no fans, and blah 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 blah. All the good things that can happen for us, and we need to go out there and beat them, and don't let them score a goal. Just keep it clean for us. Just keep it clean, and you get every chance of scoring. I'm going for 1-0, by the way.
That doesn't surprises, does it? But no, William, like I say, as long as he picks the right midfield, and we win that battle, they'll probably play a 4-3-3. I would be quite happy for us to play a 4-3-3. And I think on the day, as who applies themselves with application and who has a wee bit of luck on the day. But at the end of the day, you've got to go and dominate the game at the start and look to create chances, and something we've lacked at times, but we've got nothing to fear on Sunday. It's back to the bread and butter, and we need to put that marker down.
We've all seen hundreds of these games, Mono. You just never know, do you? You just never know. But we should be in the driving seat, absolutely. And I think that our players are playing for pride. If they're not playing for the fans or for themselves, they're playing for their pride.
Well, you've got to play for that jersey, Jaffa. That's first and foremost. They get signed to come to this club. They know there was going to be huge games. And this is a huge game. That's what they signed up for. So it's time that they go out there and prove it. But you've got to, Michael Beale's got to get the tactics right. They've got to make sure that who he picks and be getting about them. So if as long as the players are believing in the sort of setup that he's creating, that's what we're looking for, that they'll apply themselves in the right attitude and the manner, and then we should get the result.
Absolutely, Southside, and that, I mean, I'm a great believer in that. The attitude is everything, you know, and the desire, the will to win. And I want 11 animals in that dressing room. I absolutely do. You know, I want 11 guys. I just want to absolutely, you know, at all costs win the game. And if you get that kind of dynamic within your group of players, you know, that will to win, you can achieve anything. And I firmly believe that. I believe it's mind over attitude. You know, they've got to put their minds to it, and they've got to believe in themselves, because, you know, all the stars are lining up. You know, as you said, they've got problems, and you've got to seize that. You've got to take advantage of it, and that would be where I would target, you know, the tactics. And again, I would like to see Michael Beale doing that more, going for teams' weaknesses, and the way that teams go for our weaknesses. You know, I would, because I don't think we do that enough, you know, on the training pitch, where we're not drilling into where they're going to be weak. And I think we've got to do that on Sunday, Southside. And that's why I would play Matondo, and I would play with absolute pace, power, and Roof up there as well, because Roof just sees things. He does things differently. Cantwell can be the architect. I mean, Todd Cantwell on his day can rip any team apart. You know, provided he gets other players around about him, because the last couple of weeks we've been watching Todd Cantwell, there's been too much distance between them, and no players close enough to him for him to play off him, 1-2 off him. So I sincerely hope that is, you know, more. We look more like ourselves in that respect on Sunday, where we've got more players around about Todd Cantwell that want to play and dominate the ball. I think that's a great point that you make. Absolutely dominate the ball and make your possession count, and just score a couple of goals. And goals change games. I mean, you do that, you know, you take the wind out the other team, and that's you know, we've been the victims of that, none more so than Wednesday night. You know how goals change games. So I'm right up for it, Southside. I wish I was playing the new. I've got my boots on and my socks here, my shorts on. I could just go and run about for 90 minutes a new.
I'm hearing there's a wee bit of more off-field restructuring as James Blair, I believe, has left his position at Ibrox. So that's what I've heard. So yes. It's going to be a pre-match show on Sunday at 11 a.m. So William, we'll need to wind up, because I think we're just about running into overtime, and Fox has gone bananas over there. So I'll give you the last words before we shut the show, my pal.
I'll have to go to church early on Sunday, I suppose. Don't want to miss the show, you know. 2-1 to the Jers, I think. It's going to be a tough game, and I hope they don't kick lumps out of Cantwell. I just hope they don't. I think they might, and I just hope they don't.
Right, all right, William, thanks for phoning in as always. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for taking my call. Great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Doing a great job.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
See you, William.
Jaffa.
Cheers,
yeah. Thanks for having me on, Southside. Always love chatting about the Rangers, and love being on the show with yourself and Bridge. And come on, Teddy Bears. Tune on to the Rangers.
Bridgeman.
Oh, can I make it nice and short? Well done. Well done, Southside, and obviously the boys in the background. And Jaffa, thank you very much for carrying me. As you say, to all the Rangers fans all over the world, remember, huge game at the weekend, absolutely huge game. So keep it going for the Rangers, because the Rangers need us. Keep it going.
Can I just thank William again, and Stuart, who phoned in earlier. I'd also like to thank you, Jaffa and Bridge, for coming on tonight and helping us out. Thoroughly appreciate it. I'd like to thank Fox and Old School Blue for the technicals. Just like to say, come on Rangers, big game on Sunday. It's time to go top of the league. Let's do this. Come on the Rangers. Take it away, Old School Blue.